The initial reaction is obviously heartbroken. I mean, you're getting something that you love taken away from you, and the best people in their profession are telling you that they don't know if you're gonna be able to play again. I feel like I can just give good minutes on the court, however that may be. I just want to help the team win. There's nothing that I, really want to do stat-wise. It's just going out there and doing my job, and I feel like I can still compete at a high level.
I'm gratified that this story has somewhat of a happy ending because we've been covering the story of the Ball family for quite some time on this YouTube channel, and there's been so many twists and turns along the way. But the latest saga in this story would make a lot of fans, whether you're a fan of the Chicago Bulls, the Ball family, Lonzo Ball, or just basketball in general, very, very happy. So before we get to the content, we're making a huge push on Snapchat now. We've been bringing you guys a lot of behind the scenes content there, including how we make this content on a day-to-day basis. It's at TheFlightMike Snap if you guys want to follow me there. And now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. We made $500 on PrizePicks this past Sunday, and fortunately, a lot of you guys tailed my picks on Instagram and Snapchat, and you guys let me know in my DMs. One of you even made $1,000 from my picks. PrizePicks is giving us another free square, meaning we only need to get one pick correct in order to 3x our money. All Anthony Edwards needs to do on opening night is score 1 point. Fortunately, we've been on a crazy streak, and if you haven't played PrizePicks, download the app or click in the link in the description down below and use my promo code microphone to get $100 when you make an entry of $5 or more. Then follow me on Instagram at TheFlightMike or on Snapchat to get my picks for free. And thank you, PrizePicks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? It's been almost 9 years since I first heard about the Ball brothers. Whether you've heard of them when they were in Chino Hills practicing to become the next superpower in the NBA, or if you heard of Lonzo when he was dominating in UCLA, or if it was as a result of their father going on multiple sports talk shows and saying the most absurd comments in order to get some sort of attention towards his family.
So where we going? Listen, don't start. Don't you start. You ain't moving.
What you mean he ain't did enough? They got Gucci and Prada. What have they done?
But here,
at least my son can play.
Michael Jordan could not command $100 for a pair of sneakers.
Because he ain't Lonzo Ball.
Now, the results were absolutely glorious. In my opinion, during the 2017 NBA draft, my big board was Markelle Fultz, De'Aaron Fox, Jason Tatum, Dennis Smith Jr., and then I didn't really rank any players after that. I'm not going to come out here and tell you I had Donovan Mitchell as a very high-rated prospect coming out of the NBA draft because I just simply didn't. But regardless, this turned into a remarkable 2017 draft. Lonzo Ball was the second overall pick in this draft. During the pre-draft process, his father was consistently promoting this concept that it was Lonzo's destiny to be the next great Los Angeles Lakers point guard. And this is despite the Lakers already having had a point guard that was actually progressing fairly well in the form of D'Angelo Russell. But the thing is, whenever a previous front office takes a top 3 pick in the NBA draft and they're not automatically a superstar right then and there, they're more likely to move on from said player. And in this case, the Lakers had no problem at all moving on from D'Angelo Russell shortly after they drafted Lonzo Ball. In a move that infuriated me, the Lakers pretty much shipped off D'Angelo Russell and Timofey Mozgov to the Brooklyn Nets in a salary cap dump. Now, fortunately, the draft pick they received in return in that trade turned into Kyle Kuzma, but at the time, I thought it was the most reckless trade ever. But I guess a huge reason why I felt this way was because D'Angelo Russell was there during Kobe Bryant's latter years, and I really felt like the torch was being passed from Kobe Bryant to D'Angelo Russell, which I know sounds absurd right now, but you have to understand, back then, this was the highest draft pick the Lakers have ever had since they drafted James Worthy. So obviously, I had a little bit of an attachment to D'Angelo Russell, and to this day I still do. Regardless, Lonzo would get drafted to the Los Angeles Lakers, and Magic Johnson would hit us with one of his most infamous quotes.
Just leave me 1 or 2 records, okay? That's it. All right, don't break all my records. I want your grandfather, just let him leave me 1, okay?
Ironically, Lonzo Ball's best game as a Los Angeles Laker would be in his second game of his career when he dropped 29 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists in a 132-130 victory over the Phoenix Suns. And from then on, we kind of got an idea of the type of player Lonzo Ball was going to be. You see, Lonzo Ball's floor was Rajon Rondo, which, to be honest, wasn't that bad of a floor. Lonzo was drafted primarily based off of his basketball IQ, and that's something that held up to this day. But the one thing they didn't mention about Lonzo when he was coming out of the NBA draft was his work ethic. And unfortunately, you wouldn't really see that until 2 years later. You see, in year 2, Lonzo Ball got the opportunity to play with LeBron James. And following a season where the Los Angeles Lakers weren't even able to make it to the playoffs, Lonzo was traded in a blockbuster trade to the New Orleans Pelicans during the 2019 offseason. This was in a trade that would bring the Los Angeles Lakers Anthony Davis, and it was seen as a home run move not only for the Los Angeles Lakers and the Pelicans, but at the same time for Lonzo Ball. Lonzo went from playing with LeBron James, which is probably his dream, but being placed in a situation where he had to win immediately, to joining Zion Williamson with some of his most promising teammates on the Los Angeles Lakers. Ironically, this trade would age fairly poorly for the New Orleans Pelicans, but the most impressive part about Lonzo's tenure, or at least his first season with the New Orleans Pelicans, is he completely recreated his jump shot. And after seeing this, my respect for Lonzo increased tremendously. I mean, this is something Sixers fans have been asking Ben Simmons to do from the very moment he entered the league. Lonzo went from an individual that was being memed for his funky looking jump shot with the Lakers to one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA. How do you go from 31% from 3 in your rookie year to 38% from 3 during your tenure with the New Orleans Pelicans? In his final season with the Pelicans, Lonzo averaged 14.6 points per game, 5.7 assists per game, 1.5 steals per game, and shot 38% from 3. He completely reinvented himself. If he didn't do this, he would have became the equivalent of Ben Simmons, and he wouldn't have gotten the contract that the Chicago Bulls were willing to give him. Lonzo would sign a 4-year, $85 million contract with the Chicago Bulls, and it seemed like Lonzo was in the perfect place for the prime of his career. The Chicago Bulls shocked everybody. Behind the newly acquired Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, and DeMar DeRozan, the Bulls surged out to a 22-13 record with Lonzo, and then he would mess up his knee once again. An issue that has been bothering him throughout the entirety of his career due to the wear and tear that he put on his knee as he was training as a high school basketball player, and maybe this had something to do with it as well.
No one knows the real story about them shoes, though.
It was about
them ZO2s I was playing in, they was not ready.
they were
Really?
No one knows this, but Demo had a backpack, and he had extra, like, 4 pairs of shoes in there, because I had to switch them every quarter, because they would just rip. I mean, that's, if I had to say, like, why the first 2 games, like, the real truth is, like, yo, them shoes just wasn't ready. So I'm like, I'm on the phone, like, this was when Allen was running everything. I'm like, yo, like, I'm not playing in them shoes. Like, I don't care, bro. He's like, all right, just switch every brand every game. I'm like, all right, cool.
Wow.
So that's how that happened. Like, if you literally have my shoes from those games, like, they're just, like, exploded, bro.
Why did you wear them? Just because you guys had like
Because they're my shoes.
And
like,
you're like,
I had to debut them. Like, we had
stirred up the hype
it.
and shit.
We went so far with it. I'm like, cool, I can get a quarter in, but that's it. We got to switch them every quarter. And it's crazy, right when I switched my shoes, and all of a sudden, magically, I got good again. It was just, I was like, I never said nothing, but, you know, I'm lighthearted. You know, let's give y'all this.
Yes, Lonzo Ball's signature shoe, the ZO2s, certainly had something to do with the fact that he was consistently getting injured. The man suffered a MCL sprain in his left knee during his time with the Lakers in his rookie season. He went through arthroscopic surgery to repair a torn meniscus on July 17, 2018, and would suffer a grade 3 left ankle sprain, which would include a torn ligament, before All-Star Weekend. In late February of his sophomore season with the Lakers, Lonzo would have to undergo surgery once again. But the Lakers talked him out of having surgery, which was a horrific mistake because he would have to get shut down for the rest of the season in March anyway. But even during his time with the Pelicans, he wasn't fully healthy. So at this point of his career, there were questions about Lonzo's durability, and of course, his worst nightmare would come true. As on January 14th, 2022, Lonzo Ball would suffer a meniscus tear against the Golden State Warriors. He would then undergo surgery and anticipated anticipate a 6 to 8 week recovery before he can come back to play for the Bulls. Meanwhile, the Bulls clearly weren't the same without Lonzo, and genuinely missed his abilities as a two-way point guard and just a genuinely incredible 3-and-D player. Lonzo would attempt to come back during the 2022 season, but ultimately would get shut down for the 2022 season. He would undergo an arthroscopic procedure on September 28th, 2022, but 9 weeks after his second knee procedure, he still wasn't able to run, jump, or cut. LeVar Ball was trying to calm everybody down by saying Lonzo Ball was fine and that he's only 25 years old and he's gonna get his stuff together and he'll be ready to play and do his thing again. But things got so bad that on March of 2023, the man literally needed a cartilage transplant in his left knee. Lonzo would miss 2 consecutive straight seasons before finally making his return in the preseason. And it looked like he wouldn't skip a beat at all whatsoever, draining a wide open 3 in the middle of the first quarter and dropping 10 points on 4 of 6 shooting in a victory over the Minnesota Timberwolves. This was his first game in over 1,000 days, and this is how he felt about it.
To be honest, it was just a blessing. I mean, that number sounds so crazy. Even when I read that, I was like, man, 1,000 days. It actually went by, a lot faster than it sounded. The journey has been amazing. It's been a long one, but a lot of people have been with me, supporting me, and it all came together last night.
Lonzo, you actually got the game ball as well after the game. Can you just take us through that moment and how that felt?
It just shows you how tight this team is. I mean, like I said, I've been on this journey, but it hasn't been a solo trip. Bulls have been with me 100%. My teammates have been with me along the way, training staff, higher ups, everybody, man. So to get the game ball, I also got a jersey signed by everybody. So that moment, I'll never get that back and I'll never forget it.
It's very clear that the Chicago Bulls are a completely different team now. And honestly, it kind of sucks because DeMar DeRozan has said in the past that he would love to go back to the way things were when Lonzo Ball was fully healthy. But clearly, he just couldn't wait around for that to happen, especially with an offer from the Sacramento Kings on the table. The Chicago Bulls are in a much different situation with Lonzo, and it's a very unique one. If you take a look at their roster, it's one of those rosters where they clearly have assets to trade, but it wouldn't shock anybody if this team was able to get it together and make a push for a play-in spot or maybe a 7th seed or a 6th seed. And honestly, I think Lonzo is the X factor for determining this, primarily because the top of the East is very competitive with the Boston Celtics, New York Knicks. The Milwaukee Bucks are a bit of a question mark. The Philadelphia 76ers also made some big moves. But then past that, you have the Orlando Magic and the Indiana Pacers and the Cleveland Cavaliers, obviously. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Chicago Bulls could sneak in there somewhere based off of Lonzo's play. This is still a team that has Nikola Vucevic and Zach LaVine, and also lucked into selecting Matas Buzelis. Now, I'm not trying to say this is an NBA Finals contender, because for all you know, this could be the Chicago Bulls trying to pump up the value of all of their guards and eventually trade them. Because if you take a look at the Chicago Bulls, they have so many guards, it's kind of crazy. Between Josh Giddey and Lonzo Ball, Ayo Dosunmu, and Kobe White, Zach LaVine, who they're literally playing at the 3 position this year, and Chris Duarte, which is somewhere all the way at the end of the bench, this team has way too many guards. The interesting part about this is Lonzo Ball is currently in the final year of his contract, getting paid $22 million this year as a result of opting into his contract, and is set to become a free agent at the end of this year. But for all you know, he could be an incredibly valuable trade chip during the trade deadline, considering that he only is getting paid $22 million this year. And hey, maybe I'm a bit of a homer, but I would absolutely love to see him go back to the Los Angeles Lakers. But the reality is, Lonzo Ball's the type of player that could fit on any team in the NBA, and he brings something to the table for each and every team in the NBA. An individual that is an incredible playmaker, one of the best defenders at the point guard position, who is an incredible three-point shooter, but also has a relentless work ethic and just wants to win. Throughout his trials and tribulations, he has become one of my favorite players in the NBA, and I'm happy to see him back because I believe he's a difference maker for any franchise that has him. But for now, I hope he could stay healthy, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play meaningful basketball games. But someone that's had even worse luck than Lonzo Ball is Kawhi Leonard. The Los Angeles Clippers are in huge trouble. He is out for the foreseeable future, out indefinitely. We have a whole video on that I'll leave in the end screen, and I'll meet you guys there. I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.